Okay, let's look at the homework 7.5, 7.6, problem number 3. All right, so we want to find the three positive numbers x, y, and z such that the sum is 68, and also it maximizes this p function, which is x times y squared times z. All right, so let's do that. Alright, first, let's say since the sum is 68, so we can write it as x plus y plus z is equal to 68, right? So I'm going to just solve this equation for z by subtracting x and also subtracting y, right? So we can write the z is equal to 68 minus x minus y. Right? Then since we not want to deal with three variables at the same time, we can at least get rid of z, and we just rewrite z in terms of x and y. Alright, so a p function here now can depend only on x and y, which is x times y squared times quantity 68 minus x minus y. Alright, so now we're basically looking for the critical point. So we're going to take the partial with respect to x and the partial with respect to y and set them both equal to 0. Alright, so let's do that. So partial of p with respect to x would be, alright, so I'm going to rewrite it. So y squared is going to be considered to be a constant, so I'm going to just put the y squared right in front. Then I'm going to distribute x to each term. So you're going to have a 68x minus x squared minus xy. Alright, so partial with respect to x would be, so y squared would be just a constant, so put that in front. And a partial of 68x with respect to x would be 68. Partial of negative x squared with respect to x would be negative 2x. Right, partial of negative x squared with respect to x would be negative y. Right, so we're going to set that equal to 0. Right, and then partial with respect to y would be, right, I'm going to rewrite it in a different way. So y is so x is considered to be a constant, so I'm going to leave x in here. Right, then you have a 68 y squared and minus x y squared minus y cubed. Alright, so let's take the partial. So x is considered to be just a constant, and the partial of 68y squared with respect to y would be 68 times 2, so it's 136y, and a partial with respect to partial of negative xy squared would be negative 2xy, and a partial of negative y cubed with respect to y would be negative 3y squared. Right? So since everyone seems to have y in it, so I'm going to pull out y. So you're going to have xy. Alright, then you have 136 minus 2x minus 3y. Right, we're going to set that equal to 0. Right, so let's solve for that. Right, since x, y, and z are positive, so the y squared is never 0, and x times y is never 0. So we have to make sure that this guy right here, right, this guy must be 0, and here, this guy must be 0, right? So let's solve that. Let's see, we have 100, I'm going to just write it here. So 136 minus 2x minus 3y equals 0, right? And I'm going to write 68 minus 2x minus y equals 0, right? So we can just do a subtraction to get rid of x, right? 136 minus 68 would be 68. Right, negative 2y minus itself is 0. Right, negative 3y minus negative y would be adding y, so it's going to be negative 2y. So this is equal to 0. Right, we can solve this, so we can just subtract the 68. So you have a negative 2y is equal to negative 68. Then we can just divide through by negative 2 to get the y value. So we want y value to be 34. Right? So once you get that, then we can find the x value. So let's use this guy right here. Right? So let's plug in 68 minus 2x, right, minus 34 is equal to 0, right? So let's combine that. So it's going to be, let's see, negative 2x 34, so it's going to be plus 34, positive 34 is equal to 0, right? Then we can just subtract 34 from both sides. So it's negative 2x is equal to negative 34. Then we can just divide through by negative 2 to get x to be 17. Right? So negative 34 divided by negative 2. So that would be 17. Alright, so once you found the x value and the y value, here's the recipe to cook up the z value. So this is going to be 68 minus x value is 17, right? And the y value is 34. So this is going to be minus 34. So this is going to be, let's see, 68 minus 34 is 34, minus 17 is 17. Right? So therefore, x value is 17, and the y value is 34, and the z value is also 17. Right? So let's type it in. Alright, so x value turned out to be 17, and the y value is 34, and the z value is 17. Right, so let's check it. Alright, it came back and looks like we got this one correctly. Alright, that's it. I hope that this was clear.